spend hours tweaking your amps, trying new pedals, even swapping your pickups, yet you're still not satisfied with your tone. Here's the truth. Your tone problem is not in your gear, it's in your right hand. In this video, we're gonna explore how you can change the foundation of your tone by cultivating a good right hand technique. Let's go. The real foundation of a good tone is, of course, your right hand. We're all guilty, at looking at different gear, and I'm just as guilty as anybody. I love my different amps, I love my different guitars, and swapping pickups and trying out different pedals. And when we do that, of course, we change our tone. Like, there's no doubt about it that a Marshall sounds different than an Orange, for example, and that a Strat, of course, sounds completely different than a Les Paul with humbuckers in there. When you really want to change your tone on a foundational level, we take a look at the right hand. It's how you attack the strings, the touch, the dynamics, and the angles if you're picking with a pick or if you're picking finger style. All that matters and is going to influence your tone on a, as I said, much more foundational level. If you start cultivating and putting your awareness on your technique of your right hand, you're foundationally going to change how you're going to sound, and it's really not going to matter that much anymore on what kind of equipment you're playing. That is the reason why so many big players like Joe Bonamassa, Eric Clapton, Jimi Hendrix, but more contemporary ones like Chris Buck, Jared James Nichols. Doesn't really matter what guitar or what amp they're playing through, they always sound like themselves. That is because they put the time and effort at some time of their career in cultivating that nice tone. So let's take a look at the attack, the dynamics, and the touch of how we achieve our tone on the guitar. I'm going to set up a really clean or kind of clean tone here on my Les Paul going through my Orange Rockabilly, and it's just going to sound like this. And by the way, my guitar is tuned down, I think a whole step. Now let's take just one lick, for example. Something like that. I'm noodling around on my pentatonic box, feeling at home, and this is just a phrase that I just really played a lot, and I can play it like without thinking about it. Now watch when I change the way that I strike that string. Right now I'm using a pick, it's a Jazz 3 1mm, and I'm hitting it kind of with the flat side of my pick to get a round tone. At the same time, I'm putting a lot of force into that string. Let me change that and show you how much that really affects the tone. I'm not changing anything else. I'm gonna pick really soft, change the angle of my string. So now I'm gonna get more of that attack, at the same time play a little softer. Especially on that low, on that bass strings right here. That's where you really start to notice the angle of the string, because now I have more of that scratchy, attacky noise in it. Now you could say, man, I don't like that scratchy tone, and that's totally fine. It's not really about saying that, okay, this is the right way and that is the right way. No, they're really, at least when it comes to electric guitar, it's all a matter of personal preference. Paul Gilbert, for example, in an interview mentioned that he really loves playing with that angle because he wants that scratchy sound in there. Other people don't like that, and that's perfectly fine. What it's about is putting awareness to what you're doing here and start cultivating, developing a sensitivity for what you're having and a control over the angle, the speed, the hardness, and the touch that you're giving in that string. One practice that you could do is just take a pattern that you can really play well at, like let's say the pentatonic. Now just start experimenting what happens, okay, if I angle my pick. Now let me play that same thing flat. Let me play it really light. Let me get harder. Let me incorporate fingers now. This is going to change the tone totally. Now I'm playing with finger style. You can get that kind of popping noise. Or I can play really soft with fingers. Fingers have an incredible range of dynamic. And now if I incorporate both techniques, the pick and the finger picking, if I really play with my dynamics and play it soft at a certain point and then kind of phrase it up and do a little crescendo and get louder and louder and really hit that with attitude, that next note, that's what makes your playing exciting, and that's what's giving me big tonal changes. It's like having being an artist who's doing a painting, and I just have these different colors that I can use. Why just paint everything in black and white, you know? And even if you're doing that, like there's different shades of black and white. Now a really important point is with all this tone forming and cultivating is cultivating a consistency in your playing. By starting today, putting your awareness on your right hand and making a decision. For example, I want to play without a pick, Jared James Nichols kind of blues stuff. Using my thumb and my index finger mainly. No, just putting consistency into that playing. Don't leave it up to luck. Start putting time and effort into your right hand and training it to have control and consistency in your playing. I want to share a little story of my personal biography, so to say, as a musician. I started out self-taught and was kind of bashing away on my guitar. When I was 16 or 17, I started getting really interested in classical guitar. And I found a teacher, Clema Andriotti, who is a masterful classical guitar player. I started taking lessons with him, and the first thing he let me do before getting into all those crazy classical guitar pieces that I wanted to learn so much, he said, okay, back off. Your tone kind of sucks. That's not what he said, but and he just let me play open strings for about 1 or 2 months. I was practicing those, just playing one string at a time, really seeing that my tone with each finger, just the index finger for example, or even the thumb, you want to have a good mechanic, but you want to have a good tone. It starts with the intention in your mind. It's more a mental thing than anything else. With each note I strike, I have the intention that I want it to be a beautiful, open sounding tone. And that's what I did back then when I was 17. It took me 1 or 2 months to cultivate that, and then it settled into me and it kind of stuck for me for the rest of my life. And now when I'm playing stuff, I get back to that thought. It's not a thing that's over, you know, it's still developing. But that's the first thing you have to do. Put your awareness into that. Here's 4 additional tips I want to give you. First one is, if you can, record yourself. Listen back to the recording and be kind of, without being overcritical, just really ask yourself, would I want to listen to that? Is that really what I want to hear? Does that sound good from the right hand? The second tip is play unplugged. Even if you only have an electric guitar, turn down your amp, just take your guitar, sit on a couch, relax, and just start playing open strings, just like in that story I shared when I was playing classical guitar. And it doesn't matter if you, for this exercise, it doesn't matter if you're playing fingerstyle or the pick. The principle is the same. Play licks unplugged and see that they sound good playing unplugged. Third tip, of course, with everything when you practice, take it slow. This is not about speed at all. This is about forming a good tone. Fourth one is experiment. Change your angle of string. Attack hard. Change the attitude. Change the feeling with what you're approaching a lick. Conclusion of this video. Gear helps. We all love gear, man. I love gear so much. I love my amps. And it's gonna change your tone dramatically by changing that gear. But on a more foundational level, you have to start working on your right hand. If you do that and put consistency and work in that, what you end up with is having your own kind of tone cultivated. And on that foundational level, it's not gonna change anymore, and you're gonna sound like yourself no matter what equipment you're playing, be it a Les Paul, a Strat, Marshall, Orange, Mesa Boogie, doesn't matter anymore. It's always gonna sound like you, and I think in the end, that is a very satisfying thing. If you like this kind of guitar nerdy talk and breakdown, hit the subscribe and leave a comment in the box below. Thank you for watching this video, and see you in the next one.